So Vivekananda was like such a rare cat. He was a rare cat in a really rare time of history. In the late 1800s, you had a very, very confident West. Europe was really, really confident of its worldview, and it seemed to be shown that its worldview was dominant because it dominated the world economically, it dominated the world administratively. Colonial powers ran most of the world, and so in this period, there was a lot of openness. You might not think that was true, but there actually was a lot of openness between the West and the East, partly because the West felt unchallenged and they felt like they had the graciousness to open up to Eastern ideas. So there started to be this really rich ferment, this really rich dialogue between East and West. This is the period in which Swami Vivekananda came to maturity. He was born in 1863. He died in 1902. He had a very short life, 39 years. He was the son of a lawyer in Calcutta, and Calcutta was probably the most modern city in India. It was the center of British administration. He went to the best universities in Calcutta. He wasn't rich, but he was upper middle class. So he was like a Western guy. He was very current with Western ideas. He was a skeptic. He was irreligious. And there was a lot of skeptics in this period. This is when Christianity was taking one of its worst hits ever. Because you have Nietzsche writing and all this, and everybody said religion was dead and God was dead, and you had these utilitarian philosophies where it was all about just what our five senses can see, and it's all about self-interest and all that stuff. In some ways, it was a very dark period for religion, but also a very rich period for religion. But you had secular ideas really coming to a powerful head. So he was really of that cast of mind. He was a tremendous skeptic, but he was in India. But he had this powerful experience with this guy, Ramakrishna Paramahansa. And he kind of took Vivekananda under his wing. He kind of anointed him. He said, "You are Shiva. You are the great world teacher. You are going to go out in the world and teach." And Vivekananda thought he was a lunatic. Why are you? You're a nut. But eventually, Ramakrishna Paramahansa consolidated his influence over Vivekananda, and he became one of his disciples in Calcutta. He became his closest disciple, his chief disciple, and when Ramakrishna died, he gave him Shaktipat. He literally transferred his enlightenment to Vivekananda. He said, "Now you are all and I am nothing." He gave him the gift of his Dharma, the gift of his work in sadhana, in his self-transformation. So with that, he was a beast. Here he was. He had incredible intellectual powers. He was a brilliant man. He was a brilliant mental critic, and he was a great leader. People just followed him. He was great at forming groups, and he was actually a student of Keshav Chandra Sen, one of those members of the Brahma Samaj. He was also a charismatic guy, so he was able to imitate some of his styles of operating in the world. He had this tremendous template of how to behave like a saint from Ramakrishna. He had this tremendous template as how to behave as a social reformer from Keshav Chandra Sen. He had an amazing intellect. He had an understanding of the West, and now he had the gift of Shaktipat. That happened in 1888, and he kind of began wandering India. He was a middle-class guy from Calcutta. He really didn't understand his own country. So he became a Paravajaka, became a wandering monk. He traveled throughout India, and he understood the struggles of his own people, began to sympathize with the whole range of the caste system and the poverty of that country. It was a very poor period in history. Go to the next slide.